It's been a while since we've gotten a big release on the Switch. I hear a lot of people talking about what has been dubbed as indie fatigue. There's just too many indie games on the Switch, some of which we've already played on older consoles. By comparison, there's not enough of the big games from Nintendo or other third-party companies. But who exactly is this hurting? I don't know if you can call this a bias, but I love indie games, especially 2D platformers, and there's no shortage of that on the Switch right now, so maybe my lens is a little rose-colored. A lot of indie games have a pixelated art style and require very low specs from your system. In my opinion, the best home for a game like this is on your lowest spec console. In the past, it was the Vita or the 3DS. Now it's the Switch. If I can have my game at its fullest graphical resolution and have it portably, why the hell wouldn't I want it on the Switch? Because the Switch is such a good home for a lot of these games, developers have been porting over their older classics. One argument for indie fatigue is that there's a lot of retreads or games that we've played already. Who's we? While I've already played games like Hyper Light Drifter or Shovel Knight on older platforms, it doesn't mean that other people have. Maybe they didn't even know these games existed until they got the Switch in their hand. Maybe the Switch is their gateway to these great games. Just because you or that YouTuber that you watch has played one of these games already, doesn't mean it's not one of the best games on the Switch. And there are far more people out there that haven't even heard of these games before than people who have actually played them. Stardew Valley, for example, came out in February of 2016 for PC and later that year for basically everything. It sold 3.5 million copies in its first 2-ish years. It launched on the Switch in October of 2017. That version sold 1 million copies in 6 months. The market just doesn't care that you've played the game already. There's also plenty more people who would be more than happy to buy it multiple times. Some people aren't a fan of the pixelated aesthetic, and I completely understand that. Some people need their AAA fix. Most of the people who own a Switch bought it for Breath of the Wild or Super Mario Odyssey, maybe Mario Kart 8, which is a retread, but nobody played it before, so they're playing it now. Most people bought a Switch for the Nintendo games, and there's been a little bit of a drought recently. They are but one company. For a company their size, they release a substantial amount of super high quality games. Unfortunately, the Switch had very little third-party support when it first came out. There wasn't a lot going on to fill in those gaps. Bethesda dipped their toe in the Nintendo pool with a Skyrim remaster. Ubisoft was bold enough to make an exclusive game for the Switch using Nintendo IP and some of their own IP that was already proven to sell well on Nintendo hardware. But Ubisoft wasn't bold enough to port their own AAA IPs to the Switch. Where's Assassin's Creed? Where's Rainbow Six? Bethesda is doing their part by porting things like Doom and Wolfenstein. They made these decisions fairly quickly because their engine allows for this type of scaling, and id Software is a really, really good developer. We can give Ubisoft a little more credit with Starlink, but that's down the road. For other AAAs like Activision or EA, it's gonna take a long time before we start seeing the likes of Call of Duty or Battlefield on here. Those development cycles are long, although we did get Fortnite. There are rumors we may be getting something Call of Duty related soon. Not exactly a port of their new release, maybe the Blackout mode if they want to go head to head with Fortnite and release it as a standalone for free. But don't hold your breath, I don't want anybody suffocating around here. But none of this matters to me, and to most of the people who complain about the lack of AAA games for the Switch. I view the Switch as a supplementary console. If you want to play some of the bigger, graphically impressive games, especially the exclusive ones like Spider-Man, you're gonna need another console. The Switch is a good thing to have along with a PS4 or an Xbox One or a PC or all of the above. There is no one perfect console. Although some would argue that it's the PC, but you ain't playing Breath of the Wild on there unless you're a dirty, filthy, stinking thief! Personally, I have AAA fatigue. I've been getting sick of playing the same types of games over and over again with just a thin layer of disguise on top. I love the new Spider-Man game. In the same way that I loved the Batman Arkham games. In the same way that I loved Assassin's Creed games, because they're all the same. I loved Call of Duty up until about the 5th time that I played it. This is why I love Nintendo so much. Their gameplay is almost always uniquely innovative. That's not to say that they didn't have some misses for me, but for the most part, I know that I'm getting a unique and polished game. And these things take time, quality over quantity. We're also getting some incredible indie games on the Switch. Right now, 2 of my contenders for Game of the Year are Switch indies Celeste and The Messenger. The Messenger just came out recently, and I cannot recommend it enough. The way it slowly adds different abilities to aid in your platforming, you're constantly learning and challenging yourself. And when you think the game is coming to an end, it opens up into what feels like a sequel to the game. There's a whole second half to go through. It's an amazing achievement in game design. And Hyperlight Drifter feels like a super fast-paced Link to the Past. If you haven't played this one before, I highly recommend giving it a try now that it's out on the Switch. And of course, there's a whole bunch of other indie games that you should try out on the Switch, but I already made a video recommending those, which I'll link right here in a card and at the end of the video so you can finish watching this and then watch that one. The more games on the console, the better. All you're doing by complaining about the amount of indie games or the amount of re-releases is denying somebody else a chance to play a game that they might not have played before or a game that they just might fall in love with. Just because you have had enough doesn't mean that somebody else has, because the market would say otherwise. Dead Cells sold 4 times more copies on the Switch than it did on any other console. Oh yeah, you should play Dead Cells too. That's another great indie game that recently came out. That's not in my list. If there is an argument to be had, it's that third parties need to be pressured to release more games on the Switch. That way, us indie lovers can still have our great games, Nintendo can take their time making their masterpieces, and you people that need your big budget games can be happy. That way, nobody loses out. The more games, the better. I think these companies do feel the pressure now that Nintendo has proved themselves with the Switch. They're just dragging their feet a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if next year's Call of Duty or next year's Assassin's Creed makes it onto the Switch. It'll probably be a buggy mess, but hey, at least it's a start. So what do you guys think about the amount of indie games on the Switch, or I guess the amount of indie games compared to the amount of AAA games on the Switch? Are you a little fatigued right now? This is a bad time for games right now. There's always a drought in games towards the end of the summer. Right now we're getting out of it. We just got Spider-Man. Very soon we're gonna have games like Red Dead on the Switch. We're gonna have freaking Pokemon. We're gonna have Smash Bros, which is gonna be insanely big. So in the meantime, you gotta fill the gaps with some indies. Anyway, leave your thoughts in the comments below, at me on Twitter, or any of this other social media garbage. We've started a new channel, but calm down. It's not that exciting. It's just a place where I'm gonna hold all of the VODs for our Sunday live streams. They get content ID claimed all the time, and people still wanna watch them, and so we need to archive them somewhere else. But I'm saying it here because I would like you to very much, if you would, please, subscribe to that channel so that I can change the name of the channel from Bob Wulff to something else. We don't get that ability until we get, I think, 50 or 100 subscribers, so please help me. You could unsubscribe later. I don't care. I just want to change the name of the channel. I might also post other things to that channel, like the music that we use, because people want to know about that, so I'll do it. Also, if you want more live streams, head on over to twitch.tv/WulffDen. I live stream over there. If you'd like to support the channel, you could do so here by becoming a member on YouTube. Link is in the description. Or you can go on over to Twitch, and you can support us using Twitch Prime if you have an Amazon Prime account. That is free. And if you do that, link your YouTube or Twitch account to your Discord account, and you get some of these videos early by being in our supporters-only Discord. If you want to support us and get a tangible item, check out WulffDen Apparel, where we have actual good quality shirts that I picked out myself. But other than that monetary crap, the most important thing that you could do is just subscribe to this channel and share this video with a friend. A friend that might also be feeling that indie fatigue, or maybe they just really like indie games and wanna chat about it. Thank you guys very much. You have yourselves a very good week, yeah? Oh, and if you want to hear about Spider-Man, subscribe here because Will's going to talk about it tomorrow. Okay, bye.